All right, so with our handsome Mr. Z, I know we had mentioned working a few little weights as opposed to the stays, and I'll get into like these targets in a second as well. So I wanted to work a couple little weights, not tons because he's a little bit sore. And then I also wanted to dive into some of the pattern games. So I know for some of you, these are things that I may have mentioned in class. There were some resources I had sent along. Yeah, get cozy, sir. So I'm just going to feed him for just hanging out with me. So right now I'm just feeding him for being a smart man and just chilling. So with our pattern games, we're going to dive into a little bit with the up-down game that I tried to show a little bit earlier with Miss Phoenix. But since she was a little bit nervous her very first day, she did a little bit with it, which was great. But I'm going to show a little bit with a pup that already knows me and it's not as overwhelming. So I want to make sure that whenever the dogs are here and practicing and learning new skills, that it's always within their comfort range or abilities. If I tend to pressure certain things or force the situation, I'm not getting my puppy over something. I'm just telling them that even when you said this is too hard, I'm going to do it anyway. And their ability to be able to voice their opinion at a whisper might change into more of a shouting. So I want to make sure that training is, again, a two-way street, and we're both working together from each end of the leash, and at times, obviously, with no gear as well. So today, Mr. Z is a naked man because sometimes while they're playing, I do take the equipment off while they're wrestling. Sometimes I do leave it on depending if I'm going to be right there to be able to snag a friend, but I sometimes will, to keep them a little bit more comfortable, let them go without gear, which can be a little bit more cozy for them. So let's say we're going to rock a little bit with some weights first, and then we're going to work a little bit with our up-down game, and I'd like to also work with the ping pong game, and we'll dive into those in just a minute. So with Mr. Z, unlike the stays we were working on a little bit earlier with the dog caught, these weights are going to be all about waiting until I call the dog to me. So with wait, unlike stay, you're going to be reinforcing for movement from their spot back to you, and the recall is what's being reinforced. With stay, remember that the only time they're being fed is while they're in the spot. So no recall from the stay, no feeding them for getting out of the position. I really like to have the stay there until I go and retrieve you. Waiting can be used for waiting before jumping out of the car, wait before going and grabbing a food item or a toy. He's like, I'm going to take a nap because you're so boring when you're blabbing. Sorry. The little side eye just kills me. Good job, sir. So let's say we're going to work with some weights. Weights can also be really great for working impulse control, just like similar to stays where they're having to hold back until it's time to wiggle again. With the wait position, you could also work this for food, sort of waiting and then being released to grab food or retrieve an item or grab a toy. So wait has a lot of really great venues that you can apply to many different concepts or situations. So right here with my guys, typically wait is wait a moment until I call you. So I normally use a one finger, like wait. And then other folks, for example, might do a different hand signal. It's whatever makes sense to you guys, so keep it consistent. So with the stay, for example, we did open palm, stop sign, don't go. Wait a moment is kind of how I think about with my one finger. So I might tell them to wait, take a few steps away. If, again, you cannot add distance, don't start there. So if this was really hard for Mr. Z, I would be right next to him and call him from here. I wouldn't add distance and then have him constantly get up and break and not know what the heck we're doing. So right here, he would be waiting. I would only say the cue word once. And then when I'm ready, I might go, Zeke, come. Yes, and feed for that lovely man heading towards me. Nice job. That was a big, hard effort, so I'll give him a couple extra bonus bits for being so smart. So again, little jackpot moment. So let's say right here, we're going to set him up once more. We might get that gorgeous sit. He's like, I got to burp first. Good job. I'm going to tell him to wait. And let's see if I can get a couple little seconds out of him. So notice how when he's sitting versus versus lying down, it may not be as easy for him to hold the position. Ready? Sit. Because with a lie down, he's probably more comfortable. So we're going to try a little wait. I'm not going to add as much distance. Zeke, come. Yes. So before he went to lay down and get comfortable again, I wanted to get a quick little wait and a quick little recall from that sitting. So again, wait. Zeke, come. Also, if you're trying to add some distance, like we've been doing a little bit with Mr. Z, and I'm just going to throw out a few little find it's just to keep him busy as I'm blabbing so I'm not as boring. So let's say, for example, you are doing a sit or down wait, and you have maybe by mistake every time called him while you've been backing up. From his perspective, every time you take a step away, it means come forward. So we want to make sure that if, let's say, we're getting a gorgeous sitting position or a down, tell him to wait, but I wouldn't, for example, back away and call him as you're backing, because later when you want to add in some steps, he might think the steps equal follow you out of position. So right here, Zeke, come. Yes, and feed for that lovely response. What a smart boy. So good. Nice work. Yes. Perfect. He's like, oh my gosh, that was weird. So I have the AC pops on and off here and there throughout the time. So, but it's maybe not as, audible on the sounds from the speaker. So let's say we're going to try. So these are just some simple rubber discs. You do not have to go out and buy anything new. You can do these patterns without targets. The Super Bowls game is a little bit harder without targets. I would highly recommend to have bowls, Tupperware containers, or some sort of target for that game. For this one, it can just be helpful for you and for the babe when you're first starting it. So there's a little bit more of a foundation to this novel exercise. He's like, I maybe will sit in between all of them. That's a very nice sitting, sir. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to feed, oh, it fell out. I was going to feed him just for being so smart. You're going to lay down right there. Here, we're going to get you up and wiggling just for a second. So the way this game is going to work, this is going to be the up-down game. So up-down consists of the game that I tried doing a little bit earlier with Miss P. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a piece of food, you're going to put it in front of you, even if you have no marker on the floor like this. And the moment the dog looks up at your eyes, that's when I would mark the behavior and feed him once more, yes. So I don't care if he does this laying down or sitting, he's going to lay right on my target. That's fine. He's very helpful. So if, let's say, your targets get squashed by your pupperoo, don't worry about it. The moment Mr. Z looks at my eyes, yes, I'm going to feed him for that. So the main goal to up down is, even if you didn't have targets or your dog sleeps on them or whatever, is that you could go ahead and the moment Mr. Z looks up at your eyes, that's the up part of the game. And the down part of the game, yes, is the part where you put the food on the floor, and that's the down part. So what you're waiting for this exercise, yes, is the moment the dog locks eyes on you, is the moment you would mark it with your YES, which means that whatever you just did was correct. So right there, yes. And I feed the floor again. The benefit of the food going on the floor for a lot of these patterns is that it allows your babe to take a pause and take a break, but then also reorient back to the handler. Right there, yes. So with up down, you're feeding, the down part is feeding the floor, and that's how you start. So you put the food on the ground first, and then after he's just about done eating it, see if on his own, there he goes. He locks eyes with you, yes. And you feed for those eyeballs on you. If your puppy, like I mentioned with Miss P, if she's looking or he's looking at your hands, put them behind your back, and you're gonna wait for those eyes to lock, yes, onto you, not your pouch or your hands. Yes. This is a great one for Mr. Z too, because I know Dad has mentioned that at times he doesn't always connect as well from the environment to him. He is very much so, like, again, very attentive in the sense that he stays near Dad, but he doesn't always necessarily hone in with connection with eyeballs, So working this engagement can be helpful. I think Mr. Z is going to fall asleep on me. Well, he did have, yes. He also came to yesterday's WrestleMania class, which consists of, again, the structured play program. He's like, I don't know if I'm going to get up for that bad boy. Are you so tired? He says, I've had it with my life. So if, for example, he could be a little extra tired, I know he's doing the structured play, which was, again, on Tuesday. So he did have a little off day in the middle with Wednesday. But he says, I don't know if I want to get up. So we'll do a couple little find it. So these had nothing to do with the pattern game. Those were just find it's to get up Mr. Handsome from the floor and just get him up and moving. So up, down, again, consists of when the dog goes down to grab the food, you're waiting for him to look up, and that's the moment you mark and you feed. With this one, using the 3 targets or none, you would go ahead, and the same concept is you're going to have your puppy will be sort of in front of you so you can kind of easily sort of see what they're up to. What you're going to do is you're going to go ahead, and once he gives you eyeballs, you're going to place it, yes, to the left or right of you. If, again, he's staring at just my hands, I'm going to put them behind my back. He's so tired. I'm not gonna make him do the pattern with the bowls for right now or the targets because he is just so pooped out that I'm gonna do it just in front of him. And if you had your targets, yes, you would then be putting the food not in front of you, but to your left or your right. So this one would eventually, if he wasn't so tired, I would then, yes, be feeding, for example. I'm just gonna move them so it's a little easier for him to have something visual. You stepped on it. He's like, I could eat the snack through my foot. You just got to lift up your foot, you silly goose. There you go. So let's say, for example, and he just keeps trying to get more comfortable, but laying on the mats or the little visual targets. So you could have no targets, and that's fine. But the main goal is to have one on your left, one on your right, and you're feeding. So let's say Mr. Z looks at me with those eyes. I would go yes and feed to the left or the right. And he's like, oh my gosh, that's so far away. He's so tired. You are so tired. Here, we'll put that one there. How's that? And we'll pretend this is the middle one underneath your foot. He says, now we should eat it. Oh my gosh, are we just gonna wrestle? I think Mr. Z says his life is just too exhausting. It's been a very long day. You pooped out. He's gonna fall asleep in between the blabbing. So the main goal, you could also drop a snack, but he didn't see that. So the main goal to ping pong is eventually, as opposed to putting it again in front of you like the up down, when he locks eyes on you, you put it to your left or the right and you rotate. Then what you end up doing, as opposed to plopping it or placing it next to you, you toss it. So he is so tired that he may not want to rock that part. So, but instead of, for example, putting it again right next to you, you would go the moment he looks at you and you would go and toss it. But I'm just going to go yes and feed him here. So I'm going to go back just to the easier version, which is the up down game, because I don't think he wants to get up and wiggle. Yes. So these games would be, again, ways to get your puppy to hone in on you versus everything else around him and build in more focus with you when things do get more challenging down the road. Yes. But remember, if you're looking for more resources in the sense of videos for some of these pattern games, I know I had sent along a while back some of the pattern games in a document, a Word document. So you can also take a PC over those, and there's a few on there, not all of them, but some of the best or like easiest but fun ones to try for maybe the beginning stages. And then that could be another great venue for added practice. Yes. So this again is just back to the up-down game, and then potentially you could do the ping pong game when maybe he's not quite as winded as he is today. It's a hard life Mr. Z lives. Yes. So, but I'm just gonna say again, finished, and I think I see another little tick on him. So here, let me just, I think it's a ticky. Nope, okay, just a leaf. Nope, lied. It is a tick. Okay, perfect. So tick season, yay. So also on the topic of ticks and bitey bugs, some of the dogs I know are on preventatives already, which is great, whatever works for you and whatever your vet recommends and you feel comfortable using. There are some really nice bug sprays that are safe for dogs to use even while they're on medicational type products. I don't think that's a word, medication products. But when working with all the wildlife and dealing with ticks and yucky things, there are some really nice plant-based botanical sprays that are non-toxic to dogs and to us, but are really good for repelling the bugs in the first place. So the nice thing about some of the sprays, even if you put it on your hand, you rub it onto their coat or put it on a little towel and do it that way, is that it prevents the babes from climbing on there in the first place, like the bugs and the yucky things. And at least it creates a little bit of a buffer so they don't have to climb on and then realize the dog has something then try to either bite or eventually get off. Because I know for some folks, even though the dogs have medication, the ticks then sometimes climb on the dog and then they manage to come in the house and then climb on us. So those could be potential bug preventatives for using some sprays. But Mr. Z says he's about to fall asleep lying down and staring into my soul. What a nice job, even though we were all done. He's like, lady, I'm starving. But I'm gonna go get rid of this yucky tick and we'll give Mr. Z a breather, but he did stellar. So that was actually tick number 2 I found on this handsome man.